So at General Motors, we're just focused on executing well. We've, really worked to listen and understand what the customer's looking for.
The automotive world is buzzing, and General Motors is at the center of it all. Facing an onslaught of criticism from workers, unions, and even political leaders, GM's CEO has just fired back with a bold rebuttal that has everyone talking. The stakes? Nothing less than the future of GM, the livelihoods of thousands of workers, and the trust of millions of loyal customers. In a world where the smallest moves can ripple across industries, GM's response isn't just a corporate strategy, it's a declaration of war, setting the stage. This isn't just another day in the auto industry. General Motors is under fire for layoffs, factory relocations, and policies that critics argue prioritize profits over people. Workers have taken to the picket lines, union leaders are demanding change, and political figures like former President Donald Trump are threatening harsh tariffs if GM doesn't shift its strategy. The backlash has been fierce, and GM's CEO has been forced to address it head on. But instead of backing down, the company has doubled down, defending its decisions in a way that's left critics stunned. But this story goes beyond GM. It's about the evolving landscape of manufacturing, the tension between corporate profit and worker welfare, and the future of innovation in the auto industry. As GM navigates these challenges, the decisions it makes could reshape not just the company, but the entire automotive world. What does this mean for you, for workers, and for the future of how cars are made? That's exactly what we're diving into today. It's a tense time at General Motors, with workers across the US voicing their frustrations louder than ever. Union strikes are gaining momentum, fueled by grievances over stagnant wages, job cuts, and factory relocations. Workers argue that while GM is reporting record profits, the employees responsible for building the vehicles are being left behind. Strikes are now impacting multiple GM facilities, halting production lines, and sending a clear message to the company's leadership. The status quo isn't good enough. The union's demands are straightforward. They want fair wages that reflect GM's financial success, better job security, and a reversal of outsourcing trends that are moving jobs out of the US. These strikes aren't just about paychecks, they're about dignity and the idea that American workers should be at the center of an iconic company like GM. The backlash isn't limited to workers. Political leaders are stepping into the fray, and none more loudly than former President Donald Trump. Known for his America First philosophy, Trump has threatened GM with a 200% tariff on products manufactured overseas if the company doesn't prioritize American jobs. Trump's criticism is aimed squarely at GM's decision to relocate some manufacturing operations to countries with cheaper labor costs, a move he sees as a betrayal of American workers. This political pressure isn't just rhetoric, it has the potential to reshape GM's operations. Tariffs of this magnitude could severely impact GM's bottom line, forcing the company to either reconsider its strategy or face the financial consequences. And with elections looming, the political spotlight on GM is only getting brighter. For decades, General Motors has been a cornerstone of American industry, a name synonymous with innovation and reliability. But now, public perception is shifting. Many consumers see GM's recent actions as prioritizing profits over people, creating a sense of betrayal among loyal customers. Social media platforms are flooded with criticism, with hashtags like boycott GM gaining traction. The criticism isn't just emotional, it's practical. Consumers worry about the ripple effects of GM's decisions, factory closures leading to economic downturns in local communities, layoffs impacting families, and the possibility of higher prices as tariffs loom on the horizon. For many, this isn't just about cars, it's about trust. The CEO strikes back. Amid the growing criticism, GM's CEO has stepped forward with a bold response, defending the company's actions as part of a broader strategy to secure its long-term future. In a press conference, the CEO acknowledged the concerns raised by workers, unions, and political leaders, but emphasized that these decisions are essential for GM's survival in an increasingly competitive global market. The message was clear. GM is playing the long game. The CEO highlighted the company's investments in electric vehicles, autonomous technology, and global expansion as proof of its commitment to innovation and growth. According to GM, these investments will not only sustain the company, but also create opportunities for workers and consumers in the years to come. One of the most controversial topics addressed was GM's decision to relocate some manufacturing operations to other countries. The CEO argued that this move was driven by rising operational costs in the US and a need to stay competitive against global giants like Toyota and Volkswagen. By streamlining production and reducing costs, GM believes it can allocate more resources toward developing cutting-edge technology and expanding its EV lineup. The CEO also pointed to the need for flexibility in a rapidly changing industry, with demand for traditional internal combustion engine vehicles declining and electric vehicle sales on the rise. GM sees this as a pivotal moment to adapt its manufacturing strategy. But while these justifications may hold weight in a boardroom, they've done little to ease the anger of workers and unions on the ground. Commitment to innovation, a silver lining. Amid the controversy, GM's CEO took the opportunity to highlight the company's commitment to innovation. GM has already committed billions of dollars toward the development of electric and autonomous vehicles, positioning itself as a leader in the industry's transition to cleaner, smarter transportation. The CEO outlined several new initiatives, including expanded EV production, plans to ramp up production of electric models like the Chevrolet Bolt and Cadillac Lyriq, new technology investments, a focus on integrating advanced AI and autonomous driving features into GM's future vehicle lineup, global partnerships, collaborations with tech companies to accelerate the development of next-gen automotive technology. These moves are part of GM's broader vision for the future, one where it leads the charge in sustainability and innovation. But the question remains, will these promises be enough to win back the trust of workers, consumers, and critics? As the CEO defends GM's global strategy, union leaders continue to push back. For them, the issue isn't just about corporate profits, it's about fairness. Workers argue that GM's decisions to outsource jobs and automate manufacturing processes have come at their expense, creating economic insecurity for thousands of employees. Union representatives have called for a complete overhaul of GM's labor practices, demanding not just better wages, but also guarantees that the company will invest in American jobs rather than exporting them. The strikes, which have now spread to several key GM facilities, are a clear signal that workers won't back down without significant concessions. For workers in affected regions, GM's decision to relocate factories feels like a betrayal. Communities built around GM's manufacturing facilities are now facing economic uncertainty as job losses mount. Local businesses that relied on these factories for customers and revenue are also feeling the strain, creating a ripple effect that goes far beyond the factory floor. The CEO has acknowledged the human cost of these decisions, but maintains that they are necessary for the company's long-term survival. However, this explanation has done little to ease the concerns of workers and unions who feel left behind in GM's pursuit of global competitiveness. Despite the tension, there is still hope for compromise. GM has indicated a willingness to engage in dialogue with union leaders to address their concerns. This could include commitments to maintain certain manufacturing operations in the US, increased wages, or enhanced worker benefits. For now, the standoff continues, with both sides digging in their heels. Whether GM and its workers can find common ground remains to be seen, but the outcome of these negotiations will undoubtedly shape the future of one of America's most iconic companies. Tariff threats from political leaders. When GM announced plans to relocate parts of its manufacturing overseas, it wasn't just workers and unions who reacted. Politicians quickly entered the fray. Former President Donald Trump, known for his America First agenda, wasted no time issuing a stern warning. If GM proceeds with its plans to move manufacturing offshore, he would advocate for a staggering 200% tariff on its imported products. This threat carries significant weight. For a company like GM, which relies on global supply chains and international markets, such a tariff could dramatically increase production costs and drive up prices for consumers. The prospect of higher vehicle prices could deter buyers, putting GM in an even more precarious position as it competes against rivals offering similar models at lower prices. But this isn't just about dollars and cents. Politically, the tariff threat resonates with working-class voters, many of whom feel abandoned by large corporations moving jobs overseas. Trump's stance casts GM as an example of corporate greed, further fanning the flames of public dissatisfaction. Government incentives, a double-edged sword. Complicating matters further is the role of government subsidies and incentives. Over the years, GM has received significant support from federal and state governments in the form of tax breaks and funding for its electric vehicle initiatives. Critics argue that by outsourcing jobs, GM is failing to honor its implied commitment to create and sustain domestic jobs in exchange for these incentives. On the other hand, GM's leadership contends that these moves are essential to ensure the company's long-term viability, which benefits not just shareholders but also the broader economy. The challenge lies in balancing these competing narratives while retaining the trust of both the public and policymakers. The public response to Trump's tariff threats has been mixed. For some, the idea of punishing GM with heavy tariffs feels like a justified consequence of betraying American workers. Others worry that such measures could backfire, ultimately harming the very people they're intended to protect by driving up car prices and making vehicles less affordable for everyday Americans. This intersection of politics, economics, and public sentiment creates a volatile environment for GM. The company must now navigate not only the demands of its workers and unions, but also the complex web of political expectations and potential consequences. GM's decision to shift some manufacturing operations overseas has been one of the most contentious aspects of its strategy. The company argues that this move is driven by two primary factors: rising labor costs in the United States and the need to compete in a global market. By moving production to countries with lower labor costs, GM aims to streamline its operations and invest the savings into research, development, and innovation. From GM's perspective, these relocations aren't about abandoning its American workforce, but about adapting to a rapidly changing industry. With the rise of electric vehicles and autonomous technology, GM believes it must reallocate resources to stay ahead of competitors like Tesla and Toyota, both of which have made significant inroads in these areas. The automotive industry is more competitive than ever, with legacy automakers like GM vying for dominance against newer entrants like Tesla and established global giants like Volkswagen. For GM, the stakes are high. Failure to innovate and reduce costs could mean losing significant market share in an industry that's quickly evolving. By shifting some operations overseas, GM gains access to emerging markets in Asia and South America, where demand for affordable vehicles is rising. These markets represent a crucial growth opportunity, particularly as domestic sales plateau. However, this global strategy comes with its own risks, including potential backlash from American consumers who feel alienated by the company's international focus. While GM's rationale for outsourcing may be rooted in financial strategy, the backlash underscores the broader challenges of globalization. Critics argue that outsourcing not only undermines American jobs, but also raises ethical questions about labor practices in other countries. Workers in regions with lower labor costs often face harsher working conditions and fewer protections, a reality that has sparked criticism of corporations like GM that rely on these markets. Additionally, outsourcing can disrupt supply chains, creating logistical challenges that may outweigh the cost savings. In today's interconnected world, even minor disruptions in one part of the supply chain can lead to significant delays and increased costs, a risk that GM must carefully manage as it pursues its global strategy. Consumer frustrations, the price of controversy. As GM navigates these complex decisions, it faces growing dissatisfaction from its consumer base. Loyal customers, many of whom have supported GM for generations, are questioning the company's commitment to American values. This sentiment is particularly strong in regions affected by factory closures, where GM's decisions have disrupted local economies and livelihoods. Consumers are also worried about the potential for higher vehicle prices, particularly if tariff threats materialize. In a competitive market where affordability is key, GM risks alienating buyers who might turn to competitors offering similar vehicles at lower prices. GM's push for electric vehicles has been central to its strategy for the future, but it's not without challenges. While EVs represent a growing market, the transition has been slower than anticipated, with many consumers hesitant to make the switch due to concerns about charging infrastructure, range anxiety, and upfront costs. For GM, the challenge lies in balancing its commitment to EVs with the realities of consumer adoption. The company must ensure that its EV offerings are not only innovative, but also accessible to a wide range of buyers. Failure to do so could result in GM losing ground to competitors like Tesla, which has established itself as a leader in the EV space. The combination of worker strikes, outsourcing, and political criticism poses a significant threat to GM's brand. Public perception is a powerful force, and the narrative surrounding GM has shifted from one of innovation and reliability to one of corporate greed and disconnection from its roots. roots. Rebuilding trust will require more than just innovative vehicles. It will demand a renewed commitment to the values that have defined GM for decades. This includes supporting its workforce, engaging with local communities, and demonstrating that profitability and social responsibility can coexist. Impact on the auto industry. General Motors' decisions are more than just internal challenges. They're sending ripples across the entire automotive landscape. For decades, automakers have grappled with a tug-of-war between tradition and progress. GM's shift toward outsourcing, automation, and electric vehicles raises the stakes for other industry players like Ford, Toyota, and Stellantis. The question at the heart of this ripple effect is one of balance. Can automakers innovate, cut costs, and remain globally competitive while staying true to their roots of supporting domestic jobs? GM's current strategy is bold but controversial, serving as a test case for the broader industry. If GM's gamble pays off, it could encourage other automakers to make similar moves, such as relocating factories or doubling down on EV investments. Conversely, if the backlash proves too damaging, it could serve as a stark warning to other companies to tread more carefully when balancing profitability with public perception. As GM faces mounting criticism, its competitors are seizing the moment to reposition themselves in the eyes of workers, consumers, and the industry. Tesla, for instance, is leveraging its reputation for innovation and worker-friendly policies to attract talent and consumers who may be disillusioned with GM. Tesla's focus on American manufacturing, particularly in states like Texas and Nevada, offers a stark contrast to GM's outsourcing strategy. Ford, another industry giant, has been quick to emphasize its commitment to keeping jobs in the US and supporting local economies. Its recent investments in domestic electric vehicle production have been framed as both an economic and patriotic decision, subtly drawing a line between its approach and GM's. International automakers like Toyota and Volkswagen are also keeping a close eye on GM's moves. While they may not face the same domestic pressures, these companies must navigate their own challenges in balancing cost efficiency with consumer loyalty, particularly as global demand for EVs surges. One of the most immediate consequences of GM's factory relocations is the strain it places on its supply chain. For decades, GM has relied on a network of suppliers, manufacturers, and logistics providers to ensure smooth operations. By shifting production overseas, GM disrupts this delicate ecosystem, forcing suppliers to adjust to new locations, labor laws, and logistical requirements. For smaller suppliers, these changes can be especially destabilizing. Many lack the resources to quickly adapt to new production hubs, resulting in delays and higher costs. This disruption has a domino effect, impacting vehicle production timelines and increasing costs for GM, its suppliers, and ultimately consumers. Beyond GM's supply chain, the broader automotive industry is taking note. If GM's outsourcing strategy proves effective in reducing costs and boosting efficiency, it could set a precedent for other companies to follow suit. However, if it creates long-term inefficiencies or alienates key partners, it could serve as a cautionary tale. Doubling down on electric and autonomous vehicles. Despite the current turmoil, GM is steadfast in its commitment to electric and autonomous vehicles. The CEO has repeatedly emphasized that these technologies are the future of the industry, representing both an environmental imperative and a market opportunity. GM is channeling billions of dollars into its EV and AV programs, aiming to establish itself as a leader in these emerging fields. Key projects include scaling EV production. GM plans to ramp up production of its electric models, such as the Chevrolet Bolt, GMC Hummer EV, and the Cadillac Lyriq. These vehicles are designed to appeal to a wide range of consumers, from eco-conscious drivers to luxury buyers. Autonomous driving innovations. Through partnerships with tech companies and internal R&D, GM is developing advanced autonomous driving systems. These technologies have the potential to revolutionize transportation, making it safer, more efficient, and more accessible. Sustainability goals. GM has set ambitious targets for reducing emissions and transitioning to renewable energy across its operations, aligning its business strategy with global environmental goals. By positioning itself as a pioneer in EVs and AVs, GM hopes to not only weather the current backlash, but also secure its long-term relevance in an industry undergoing rapid transformation. Addressing the workforce transition. As GM transitions to new technologies, it faces the challenge of preparing its workforce for the future. The shift from traditional combustion engine manufacturing to EV and AV production requires a different skill set, one that many current workers may not possess. To address this, GM has committed to investing in workforce training programs designed to upskill employees for roles in the new automotive era. These programs aim to equip workers with new skills. Training initiatives focus on areas like EV assembly, battery technology, and software development. Create opportunities for career growth. By providing pathways for workers to advance within the company, GM hopes to retain talent and reduce turnover. Reassure workers amid uncertainty. Offering clear opportunities for retraining and advancement can help ease tensions with unions and employees who feel left behind by GM's global strategy. Exploring new market opportunities. GM's global strategy isn't just about reducing costs, it's also about capturing new market opportunities. Emerging economies in Asia, South America, and Africa represent untapped potential for automakers, particularly as these regions experience growing demand for affordable and reliable vehicles. By expanding its presence in these markets, GM aims to diversify its revenue streams and reduce its reliance on the North American market. However, entering these markets comes with its own set of challenges. GM must navigate complex regulatory environments, cultural differences, and varying consumer preferences. Success in these regions will depend on GM's ability to adapt its product offerings and marketing strategies to meet the needs of diverse audiences. Reconnecting with consumers. GM's relationship with its customers has been strained by recent controversies, but the company is taking steps to rebuild trust. One of the most effective ways to do this is by actively engaging with consumers and demonstrating that their voices are heard. Initiatives to strengthen consumer relationships include enhanced customer support. GM is investing in improved service centers, quicker repair times, and better communication with customers. Transparent communication. The company is making an effort to share its long-term vision with consumers, explaining how its decisions align with broader goals like innovation and sustainability. Community outreach. GM is supporting local communities affected by factory closures through initiatives like job training programs, economic development grants, and charitable contributions. Making EVs accessible. One of the biggest barriers to EV adoption is cost. While GM's current EV lineup includes premium models, the company recognizes the need for more affordable options to reach a broader audience. To address this, GM is exploring ways to reduce EV prices through increased production efficiency. Scaling production can help lower costs and make EVs more accessible. Government partnerships. Collaborating with governments to provide subsidies or tax incentives for EV buyers. Charging infrastructure investments. Expanding charging networks to reduce range anxiety and make EV ownership more convenient. By addressing these challenges, GM aims to position itself as a leader in the EV market while maintaining its appeal to everyday consumers. Rebuilding GM's reputation will require a multifaceted approach that addresses both the practical and emotional concerns of its stakeholders. For workers, this means fair wages and job security. For consumers, it means affordable, innovative vehicles. And for the public, it means reaffirming GM's commitment to American values. If successful, these efforts could not only repair GM's image, but also position the company as a model for balancing innovation with social responsibility. The decline of American manufacturing. General Motors' outsourcing decisions are emblematic of a larger trend affecting the U.S. economy, the steady decline of domestic manufacturing. For decades, the auto industry was a cornerstone of American economic strength, providing stable jobs, driving innovation, and supporting local communities. Today, that foundation is being eroded as companies prioritize cost-saving measures like automation and global manufacturing. GM's actions highlight the challenges faced by American manufacturers in a globalized economy. High labor costs, stringent regulations, and fluctuating demand have created a tough environment for companies trying to stay competitive. However, the loss of manufacturing jobs has ripple effects that go beyond individual workers. Local economies, reliant on factory jobs, suffer when plants close or downsize, creating cycles of unemployment and reduced economic activity. While the challenges are daunting, GM and other automakers have an opportunity to lead the revitalization of American manufacturing. By investing in technologies like automation and advanced robotics, companies can make domestic production more efficient and cost-effective. However, this transition must include plans to upskill workers, ensuring that technological advancements create opportunities rather than displace them. Policymakers also have a role to play. Incentives for companies to build and operate factories in the U.S., coupled with investments in workforce development, could help rebuild the manufacturing sector. GM, as one of the country's largest automakers, could set an example by demonstrating that innovation and domestic production can coexist. GM's decisions have reignited debates about globalization and its impact on the US economy. Supporters argue that outsourcing allows companies to remain competitive, create affordable products, and invest in innovation. Critics, however, point to the human cost, job losses, stagnant wages, and the erosion of American industrial might. The real challenge lies in finding a middle ground. For GM, this could mean maintaining a balance between global operations and domestic commitments. By showing a willingness to adapt and address the concerns of American workers, GM could position itself as a leader in navigating the complexities of globalization. If GM can successfully navigate its current challenges, it could provide a blueprint for other automakers facing similar issues. By demonstrating that profitability and social responsibility can coexist, GM could help shape a more sustainable and equitable future for the industry. As GM confronts criticism from workers, consumers, and political leaders, it faces a defining moment in its history. The decisions it makes now will not only impact its future, but also influence the broader automotive industry. From labor relations to globalization, GM's actions are setting the stage for what the industry will look like in the years to come. And now, it's over to you. What do you think of GM's strategy? Can the company balance innovation with the needs of its workers and consumers? Or will its global strategy backfire, damaging its reputation and market position? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This story is far from over, and we'll be here to bring you the latest updates as it unfolds.